Hey, this is Robert, and thank you for tuning in to Station Square. Hope everybody's doing well out there. And, if you had a lovely Halloween, if you've ate a lot of candy or just anything that you've done, whatever you did for Halloween, I hope it was fantastic. Today, we're going to be chatting with somebody who has been in the business for so long. Like, if I list off their resume, I'd be here for like 5, 10 minutes. Like, they've worked
Get it?
with,
I'm old. Oh my gosh.
yeah, like, dude, like Disney, Warner Brothers, Cartoon Network, Nickelodeon, like a lot of the big names in the industry. So, I'm gonna be chatting with Amber here from Over Animated Productions. Yay. Brilliant introduction already, but yeah, I'm just really happy to, after so many, like we've done a lot of rescheduling and we've done a lot of, some behind the scenes stuff that happened, but regardless, we're finally here today and it's time to get the show on the road. But I guess my first question to you is, how are you doing? And yeah, like, how has this year been for you? Like, as far as animation goes, or just general life? Just give us a rundown of a quick retrospective of 2023 in a nutshell.
Oh my goodness. Well, so nice to be here with you, Robert. And gosh, 2023, I think since the pandemic, things have been topsy-turvy all over the entertainment business. And you add on the writer strike and the actor strike. And I have to say, it has been a godsend to be working in animation. It's one of the few things in entertainment that's been able to continue production the entire way through. We were able to transition to work at home models for feature television. So remarkably lucky that I was able to work continuously through the pandemic on some amazing productions. Been with Netflix and Kickstart and Disney this past year doing Netflix. I was supervising director on a new miniseries that's going to come out in 2024, Netflix exclusive miniseries. And I just recently got back to Disney Television to start directing on the new seasons of Phineas and Ferb. So that we're reinvigorating that franchise after somewhat of a decade of hiatus. So it's been incredibly busy for me. I won my first Emmy, so incredibly busy and fulfilling work year, career wise.
Oh yeah, I know it's definitely been very productive because, like I said, there's a lot of stuff that's been happening in Hollywood right now, and there's just a lot of we're just kind of still figuring out what exactly it's gonna be like, the ultimate outcome, but I hear that they're getting closer if I'm not mistaken, but I don't know. Don't quote me on that, but we'll see what happens. Just always keep shooting, keep aiming high, and always just wish for the best.
Um,
Um,
yeah, fingers crossed for the actors as the writers
oh,
held
totally,
out,
yeah.
got a great deal for them. It was so needed. And animation has a different union. Our writers don't fall under the WGA, so they were able to continue on their production. And there are some actors in the voiceover world that were also able to continue working. So it wasn't a huge wash, but there were so many people out of work, and there's still so many people trying to find jobs. The good thing about animation, like I said, we were able to continue production throughout that entire pandemic and through the strikes. But animation has creeped its way into almost every form of visual entertainment. Almost every live action movie has some version of animation in it, CGI and special effects or practical effects. And television shows are taking advantage of animation as a medium. It's usually in the effects department, but there's other areas where it's being applied as well. We're seeing all sorts of hybrid models. And I think going forward, I don't entertainment is going to keep growing in that way, which is very exciting.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. So, I guess we could just get right to this. My first question usually is like, how did you get? I mean, it's not how did you actually get started, but um, so was animation kind of like something that you definitely grew up with? Like, it's something that you were raised on when you were a child, and then you eventually got your start in the industry?
I've been drawing ever since I could pick up a pencil. So loved Saturday morning cartoons. It was always wanting to emulate artists that I would see. I did a lot of painting. I always knew that I wanted to do something in the world of arts, and I wasn't sure how that looked as a career. So I was grew up fairly sheltered in a small town. I didn't have access to a lot of education or materials, I would say, specifically in the art world. I had an amazing art instructor when I was in high school, even though it was a small class. She was just such an advocate for getting me started and knowing that this is what I should be doing is something in the field. But I think I was about 13 when The Little Mermaid came out, and it blew my mind. It solidified that I wanted to work in animation because I wanted to be a filmmaker, but I also had this, I guess just natural ability to draw. So I'm like, that is the perfect marriage of these two skill sets. I'm not good at a lot of things. I'm good at very few things, very niche market, a good filmmaker. I'm a good artist, good friend, and a good mom. But that's kind of it. Everything out there is just like, but I'm really good at those things. I was so happy to find something where I could thrive career wise. I don't know, like I don't even know if I could work at Starbucks. It's pretty complicated getting those lattes and coffees together. It's a lot of things to remember. I don't know. Like this is really the only thing I can do.
Yeah. It's like juggling a lot of different acts at once. You just don't know which one is gonna, like you juggle so many different stuff, and then it turns out that the one that you kind of was the least expecting to take off actually takes off. It's kind of weird how life works out. It really does. Because I also wanted to be like I loved drawing. I thought I was gonna get into animation, but it turns out acting was kind of something that I'm gonna contribute to it. So I guess I am working in animation in some aspect. You know what I mean?
It's a very
Uh,
competitive world out there
oh yeah.
in the business. You think that you've got some talent, and then first job or first class you take, and everybody around you is either just as good or better. It's very motivating, but it's also daunting. I think similarities to being an actor, you're always going out and auditioning every time that I go to a new project and apply for a job. I'm auditioning myself. My work is like a piece of my soul that's out there on a screen for everybody to see and judge. It's the same thing when you're an actor. So getting those rejections, they can hurt your little soul. So you have to have a really thick skin. You have to have an unbreakable faith in yourself and your abilities. You have to have your own confidence, and then other people's can be confident in you. Like I thought that I was going to be an animator. I didn't know anything about animating, but when I actually tried my hand in animation, I was awful at it. It's just the worst. Like I understood the principles, but not the execution. But one thing that I could do is something I've been doing since I was tiny is just drawing little boxes with stories inside. And I didn't know that that was a job until I went to college at Cal Arts and then discovered that there was this thing called storyboarding. And that was actually a job that I could do. It was a career. It's totally what I was made for. So, I mean, that grew into a career in directing, which is also what I'm made for, but you don't know until you get out there and try. Some advice that I always give younger artists looking for a direction in the business is to lean into their strengths. You might have thought that you were going to do one thing going into your career. Maybe not. Be open, be flexible, because you should always be just leaning into what you're naturally good at.
Oh, definitely. I totally agree because when it comes to adapting to something, like if it's something that is like, you've been drawing since you were a kid and then eventually like those little skills that you have could lead into, you know, you just never know where it's gonna lead you. Where the stars or like anything, some sort of like, um, by a stroke of, I mean, it kind of all comes down to like, preparation, the timing, and also luck. I think preparation and being ready for it is also a big factor on just being there at the right place at the right time. You know what I mean?
And I guess being ready can mean a whole lot of things.
Yeah, totally.
And being ready to take a chance on yourself, I don't know that you're ever really ready to try something new,
Yeah.
regardless of how much time and effort you've put into something. You never know when you until you try. And maybe you're not ready, but you become ready as soon as you take the position or get into it.
Yep. I absolutely agree. So, when you first got your start in animation, how was the industry like when you first got started, and how has it evolved over time? Because we're in 2023, and so much as there's a lot that has happened. So, I'm just wanted to ask you from your perspective on the evolution of animation, so to speak.
Technology has been
Yeah.
one of the biggest things that's changed. I only went to school for 1 year, and then I got hired out at a company when I was 18. Never looked back, and I've been working ever since. There was, I'd say, a considerable imbalance in equity in the workplace as far as diversity and male female roles of leadership. I was often the only female artist on a crew until I would say as of recent, the last decade or so. Now I'm on crews with 50-50 of men and women. There's still a ways to go with being taken seriously as a woman in this industry, but it is infinitely better than it was several decades ago. And of course, the technology is emerging all the time. Trying to keep up with it is paramount.
I know, because with technology, with the rise of CGI, like I'm also researching animation and just learning about when you go back to the 30s with Walt Disney and the Warner Brothers cartoons, and then now with Pixar, DreamWorks, Sony, like there's been a lot of there's a lot of um new technology, and there's like a lot of groundbreaking material that they're doing. Like I know recently with Sony, DreamWorks, and with Illumination, but for specifically with the Spider-Man movies that just came out recently, they're experimenting with new like tech. They're experimenting with a new style, like it's more comic book, but at the same time, like there's some anime influence in there, which is something that honestly I would love to see more of, with more experimental, styles that is more pleasing, and it kind of makes it a lot more fun to look at. I really do like realistic animation, but for me personally, I think something that is stylized and um kind of reminds me of like those old uh like the Jay Ward or UPA cartoons, like definitely around that. I mean, we got the Cartoon Network shows from like the 90s. That is definitely a homage to that type of style of animation. But I think it's something that I'm starting to see more with these recent films, where it's sort of 2D, but it's still 3D animation. Do you get me? Like it's kind of combining two styles, you know?
I'm
Yeah.
super excited with the innovation and risk
Yeah,
taking
innovate.
some of
Yeah.
these studios are taking. Like I give mad props to Sony for breaking some molds. Disney and DreamWorks and Pixar had for like a staple look that you knew when you saw an image that was a Disney film. They just have a certain way of character design, a certain way of animating, and I'm so pleased and excited, like genuinely excited when I see something like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Mayhem, when I see
Oh
Spider,
yeah, 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 yeah.
when
Yep.
I see people taking risks and chances, like studio backing it, that gosh, I mean, there's nothing that puts a bigger smile on my face, right? And then with access at the internet through technology, we have so much more exposure to different cultures, and every culture has their own style and way of making film and way of making animation. We have such a high influence of Japanese art now in the States, but we're also pulling from Dutch, we're pulling from French, we're pulling things from Ireland, and everybody has a different take on it. And so I think the more time that passes and the more exposure we have to different cultures and the way of they're doing things, we're going to continue to see an elevation of these hybrid of taking different ideas, and then of course things that we have never seen before. Yeah, it's pretty good. I mean, like literally when I watch Spider-Verse, I'm like a kid in a candy shop still. Like I have not lost an iota of passion or genuine love for this craft in all the time I've been doing it.
Yeah, and what were some of the biggest influences as far as animation goes, your life, just who are some of your biggest animation influences?
Um, Glenn Keane's style of drawing when he came on the scene and Little Mermaid, like that was the biggest thing for me. But I really loved watching anime when I was younger too. It wasn't as popular. It was definitely a nerdy thing, which is fine because I wear my nerd badge with pride. But
You mean Speed
I
Racer and,
like
the older
Robotech and Cowboy
Oh, okay.
Bebop and
Yeah.
like those it's compelling because as a child Japanese animation was so adult. They tackled such mature themes, and that wasn't something that was standard in U.S. animation or Americanized uh, cartoons. Cartoons were really pigeonholed as a children's property or something to amuse children. It wasn't considered something for the masses of all ages. Even today, I think animation gets pigeonholed as either family entertainment or children's entertainment, but there's a growing adult market, and I think there's more people that enjoy it as an adult than people know out there. But one thing that I loved about anime was it was a different style of storytelling that I'd never seen before, and it gave the viewer, myself, so much credit for being able to handle mature content. Loved it. Plus,
Yeah.
I have to say, live action
Mhm.
directors play the biggest
Yep,
influence
that too. Yeah.
for
I
what
think
I
it's
do.
I
It's
think it's important to
filmmaking
know.
all the
Yeah.
same.
Because like your influences, like we love animation, but live action stuff can also is taking inspiration from anywhere. It doesn't whether it's live action, animation, let's see, video games, like it can come from anywhere. So it's really important to draw inspiration from different like areas of media. That's super important. So thank you for touching on that on live action. Yeah.
Well, regardless of whether what medium it's told, there's a
Yeah, the
narrative, there's
medium.
a
Yeah.
story structure. Animation is filmmaking. It's done, via drawings, but you still have to think of all the same things that a normal live action director would think about. You're still thinking about the entire world. You're thinking about the story, the execution, the shot selection. You're thinking about the lighting and the staging. You're thinking about the acting and the most effective ways that you can convey the feeling that you want to your audience. All of your choices have to be purposeful for you to have the impact that you want on your audience.
Yep. Absolutely. Um, a lot of my influences kind of range from anime to video games, animation, live action. So if I were to list on specific,
What are your favorite video games? Just out of curiosity. I'm not a gamer, so I don't have a lot of familiarity, but I'm just curious. My kids love video games. Oh, Sonic.
uh, yeah, that's pretty much a dead giveaway. Um, but yeah, I love Sonic just for it has a really like Sonic. I kind of like platformers where it's kind of like franchises that are it's enjoyable for all ages and they definitely have like iconic character designs, I guess that kind of draws me in. Like Sonic is one of them, Super Mario. Let me see. I'm a fan of most Nintendo stuff. I really liked Spyro and Crash Bandicoot when I was younger. I still do. Um, Let me see, Mega Man. There's like a lot that I really like. But Sonic has definitely been kind of like my main hyper fixation right now. Um, but as far as animation goes, definitely like, the classic Warner Brothers shorts, Disney, um, let me see. Oh my gosh, there's so many. I will
Miyazaki,
say the one, I'm sorry?
Miyazaki, huge for
Oh
me.
yeah, Miyazaki. I mean, of course, Miyazaki. Um, I will say also the shows that you've definitely worked on. Like I was literally looking over your website and I was like, oh yeah, I also like this show, this, da 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 da. So, if I'm gonna be, kind of biased, but yeah, I will say a large influence for me right now though would be as far as live action stuff. I keep hearing a lot of good things about Breaking Bad and let me see. I don't really watch a lot of live action as much as I do like cartoons and animation, but one show that I'm definitely loving right now is Avatar, and the second one, of course, like you mentioned, is Cowboy Bebop. Like very, very influential. Um, I think those are my main influences right now. I was also a Nickelodeon and Cartoon Network kid, so of course SpongeBob, Dexter's Lab, that stuff that I grew up with. So yeah, those are kind of my influences in a nutshell. Um, but as far as the projects that you've actually worked on, let me see. So what would you say were the challenges and what was something that you definitely find to be the most rewarding out of each project that you've done in your career?
Pushing myself to do something that I didn't think that I could do or that I would be good at. I tried throughout my career to touch upon like a little bit of everything: short format, long format, 2D, 3D, stylized and graphic, realistic, comedy, action, drama, horror. I wanted to do just a little bit of everything. Because again, you don't know if you're good at it until you try. So um, that's the biggest thing, is just getting a variety stuff in there. I would say like Tigger movie was my very first feature. I did storyboards on that when I was 21. So that has a special place in my heart because it's my first feature job. And then I took a hiatus when I had children and didn't work for a little while. And then I came back and did the new Looney Tunes show, not the one that Wabbit is based on, but the one where Bugs and Daffy are living in a house together. And
Oh
it's like
yeah, 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 yeah.
it's like a three-camera sitcom set up with a Seinfeldish kind of thing. It was that show was so funny to me. I absolutely loved working on it. Um, Loved working on Stillwater. That's what got me the awards or the recognition as of late, and that was extremely rewarding. It was a difficult show to do, and I discovered only in the past couple of years my love of editing, like that I had a knack for that. So I wish I had started that a little bit earlier.
Yeah, totally. Um, and it's really nice that you mentioned, oh, sorry.
Oh, I was going to say, you had mentioned Breaking Bad. It's a fantastic
Yeah.
series. Well, I was
Yeah.
watching that while I was working on Mike Tyson Mysteries, and I couldn't get enough of stealing shots from Breaking Bad and using them in Mike Tyson, because it's Mike Tyson shot as more of a live action show than a cart like an animated film traditionally. So I was able to borrow so many cool shots and unique perspective from that at the time. It was hugely inspirational.
Yeah.
You wouldn't think those things go together, but they always do. I might steal something for like a preschool show from Breaking Bad. You never know.
Yeah. So how is it like getting to storyboard a live action show like Arrested Development?
So cool. Different to board live action than a production board for animation. Live action is like kind of like beat boards. You don't need all the information that you would need for a television production. So like I will always instinctively put in and create a background, even though there's a location designer for live action. But in an animated world, you have to have everything is realized and you have to have all the information because you're shipping that to some other studio for them to actually animate and put together. So you have to have your background completely realized. You have to have every prop completely realized and designed. You have to have all your shots exactly how they're going to be, because how you put it on the page is how it's going to end up on screen. And you're doing something for live action, you're giving a suggestion for the director to use and for the actors to reference, but the director ultimately does whatever they want with their shots and can change them completely.
Oh yeah. Um, because I know with the animation process, like there's a lot of like, revisions, changes, and et cetera, et cetera. So, um, let me see. So, how much would you say that from script to storyboard to finished product, how much would you say that it changes from the overall animation process?
From first draft of a storyboard to what we submit as our final production board to be shipped overseas for animation and full production, I would say it changes about hopefully no more than 30%. Sometimes it changes 90%. But in a TV pipeline, you typically have 6 week turnaround from the time you start boarding to the time that episode is done. It's not a lot of time. And then when you've locked your animatic and send that off for production, the whole thing takes somewhere around 9 months before that show is ready to hit the airwaves. So sometimes you'll have worked on a project, like if it's a feature, you might have ended your role on that feature years before and it comes out years later. It's kind of a weird thing. If I'm working on a television show for animation, most of the time I have to wait an entire year before those episodes are on the air. So you're always like your work is always trailing behind you a little bit.
Oh yeah. So for your recent projects, because you've recently worked on oh man, what's that new show on Disney that just came out?
Hamster and Gretel was the
Yeah.
most recent Disney show that I worked on. So cute, from creator of Phineas and Ferb, Dan Povenmire.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, yeah.
super cool. His daughter does the voice of Gretel, and she was just nominated for an Emmy yesterday, we found out.
Oh shoot.
Yeah, for her
Congrats to
voice
her.
performance. Super exciting.
Wow.
She was excellent in that role. Originally, we Dan needed a temp artist when he was pitching the show and didn't have somebody there. He does the voices himself for almost everything, but he's like, oh wait, I have a little girl who lives in this house who could do the voices. So he had her do the temp track and it just stuck. No matter how many girls that they auditioned, nobody seemed to have it down the way that his daughter Melly could do it. So very he's super stoked, proud of her.
Yeah. And speaking of which, a lot of Emmy nominations for outstanding performances. Like there's a lot of productions that are just really that are just getting the recognition that they deserve. So, hats off to them. And to all the actors that have been nominated, kudos.
There's so
I
much
know there's
content
too many.
out
Yeah.
there. It's hard to even absorb it all. I try to participate in Emmy judging every year. There's like they take specific panels with areas of expertise to help narrow down the all of the applications that come in. There are hundreds and hundreds, and they have to be narrowed down to like a ballot of final six to vote on. So little groups of people who specialize in certain areas help the judging criteria. A lot of my time doing that is so that I can be exposed to all the different shows out there. Otherwise, how I try to read a lot, but if you're working on a production, my head's in the sand on my production. I want to know what's going on out there, what other studios are doing. It's just so much.
Yeah. There's just a lot of content out there. Definitely support artists and just support all the people that have worked on these productions. They put in countless hours into this, just to make the best project, just to make the absolute best thing that they could possibly make. So, yeah, that's pretty much all I can say about it. Let me see. Is there something else, anything else that you wanted to share, or discuss, anything that you wanted to, I guess, promote, or just anything that you can discuss or share about? I mean, at
Hmm.
least for this time, right now.
Well,
I know
for
it can be pretty tricky because NDA stuff. So, just
promoting, there's still episodes of Hamster and Gretel on Disney Channel coming in 2024. There's going to be a miniseries called The Barbie Mysteries. And that's something that I was the series director for. So I'm super excited to see the final product on air for that. I don't have an exact air date yet. And then Phineas and Ferb were first season, or not first season back, it's technically season 5. So sometime next year, we'll be dropping our very first episodes. We're getting the pilot together right now as we speak. It's really exciting. You can still catch episodes of Stillwater on Apple TV. And I have a podcast called Film Fight, where me and my co hosts take two movies of similar plot or genre and match them up to see which one is better and why. It's kind of a film analysis podcast, a lot of humor, but it's basically four friends who work in the industry who love talking about movies. And there's so many movies out there that are so similar. We are always getting into debates just naturally of like, what made this one work and why did this other one not? They're basically the same idea. So that's kind of how that was born.
nice, nice. We'll definitely check out the podcast. And yeah, any last words, any last piece of advice for anybody wanting to break into the industry?
Um, the biggest piece of advice I could give is to take advantage of all the free classes and tutorials and things online. There's a wealth of information out there available regardless of your socioeconomical status. You can get free classes and free tutorials and free seminars and lectures. And I would absolutely take advantage of that. If you are trying to get noticed, take advantage of social media and post your work. If you are posting really strong work, chances are someone is going to see it, reach out to you.
Yep, that's pretty solid. Like, I don't have anything to add to that. And also, have fun, even if things get tough.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you, Amber, for your time. And where can people check out your stuff real quick? I'm so sorry.
Oh, that's okay. Film Fight, you can just Google Film Fight podcast and it will pop up. It's on all of your favorite streaming podcast platforms. Stillwater is on Apple TV. Hamster and Gretel is on Disney Plus and the Disney Channel. And next year, Barbie Mysteries will be on Netflix.
Gotcha. So I guess with all of that said, any closing thoughts or I think we pretty
Have
much
a,
covered everything.
yeah, have a great weekend.
Yep. Likewise. So thank you for watching and stay tuned for the next episode. This should be going up at some point over the weekend. So regardless, thank you so much. And until then, see y'all next time. Have a happy November. And until then, toodaloo and stay animated. Peace.